Hi everyone, I'm Büşra from Get Golden Visa, and today we are diving into one of the most talked about topics lately, the proposed change to the Portuguese Citizenship Law. Just this week, on October 28th, Portugal's parliament voted on a major amendment that could affect how and when foreign residents can apply for citizenship. To help us understand what's really happening, I'm joined by Madalena Monteiro, managed partner at Liberty Legal here in Lisbon. Madalena, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Büşra. It's a pleasure to join you, and it's definitely an important moment to talk about this.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly happened in the parliament on October 28th?
The Parliament has approved a set of amendments to the Portuguese Citizenship Law. The main change is that the required period for residence for citizenship will increase from 5 years to 10 years, or to 7 years from citizens of the EU or CPLP countries. But the trigger change is how that time is counted, because up until now, the 5 years used to start from the date that someone has applied for their first residence permit. And under this new wording, it would only start from the day that the residence card is issued, which, as we know, it can take several months or maybe years. So in practice, it could move the finish line quite a bit for many people.
Yeah, that sounds like a huge shift, but people keep asking, is it official yet? Is this already law?
No, it's not yet a law. What we have right now is a bill that was approved by the Parliament and not enacted law. The next step is for the bill to go to the President of the Republic, that has either 8 days to decide to refer it to the Constitutional Court for review, to do a preventive analysis of the constitutionality of the bill, or 20 days to decide to approve it, veto, and send back to the Parliament. Given how the controversial matters that are subject in this bill, many believe that it will be referred to the Constitutional Court before signing anything.
And if he does send it to the Constitutional Court, what happens next?
If the Constitutional Court says it's constitutional, the President can go ahead and sign it into law. If not, it has to go back to the Parliament either for modifications or for confirmation of the content. So we are still several weeks away from the final outcome, and this is important for people to understand.
That's the big question we are hearing every day. What happens to those who already applied under the 5-year rule?
Right, so for whoever already submitted a complete citizenship application, it will be processed under the current 5-year rule. That's the fair and legal sound approach, and we have strong constitutional arguments supporting it. The challenge is that the approved text does not include a clear grandfathering clause, so there is some uncertainty, but the legal community, where I am included myself, believe that it will be unconstitutional to apply this new rule retroactively.
You mentioned the Constitution. Do you think this change itself could be unconstitutional?
It will ultimately depend on how it's applied. Changing the starting point for the counting residency, especially retroactively, could violate the principle of legal certainty, which is protected under the Portuguese Constitution. As you know, people made their investments, they moved their families and lived here in good faith based on an existing law. So if there's an amendment to disadvantage those that are already in the system, there's a real question around constitutionality.
Let's say the president signs it. When could it actually start applying?
Once it's signed and published in the official journal, it usually takes effect right away, or what is in the bill is that the law becomes effective on the next day of publishing in the official gazette. But there's another layer into this. The bill also predicts the need to update the nationality regulation, because it needs to match with the new law, which, according to what is predicted in this proposal, it can take up to 90 days. So after the approval, there will still be a short transition period before it's implemented in practice.
Some people are asking if there's any legal route for collective action, like a class action lawsuit, if the law ends up being applied retroactively. Do you think that's possible in Portugal?
Well, in Portugal, we don't have a system of class actions, but it's possible for several people on a voluntary basis to unite together to present a litigation in the Portuguese courts. If the law was applied directively and clearly harmed the defined group of people, for example, those who already completed the 5-year residency, then the collective legal action could be pursued. But our focus right now is to prevent this situation to happen, ideally through constitutional review before the law comes into effect.
That makes sense. Finally, Madalena, what's your advice to people watching this and worried about what this means for them?
Well, first of all, my advice is to remain calm and not to rush into any early conclusions, because the law is not yet in effect and there are still important steps ahead: the President's decision, potential constitutional review, and new regulations. So for those who have already applied to the citizenship law, we expect the cases to be continued under the 5-year rule, and for others, our teams are watching this very closely to make sure it gets clear and reliable information.
Perfectly said. Madalena, thank you so much for your time and clarity today.
No, and I have to appreciate you, Büşra, and Get Golden Visa team for helping share factual updates during this period.
Thank you. If you'd like to read more on this topic, check out our detailed review on getgoldenvisa.com or follow us for verified updates as this develops. Thanks for watching.